How's it, folks, and welcome back to the MLC. At least that's what I think I'm calling it for now. My name's Sean, librarian, doing Chartership. I think that covers just about everybody who hasn't seen me before. It's been a while since my last video. First off, I'd just like to say that I am sorry. I had intended to do a couple of videos in the interim, but life got in the way, and also I haven't really done that much work on Chartership. So, what have I done in the last month? Not much. I think that covers it. No, it's not quite how it worked. I discovered after I made the last video that I hadn't registered for Chartership, actually, even though I thought I had been registered before, but that had expired, which is inconvenient. So I've re-registered. At this point in time, my next step is to do the PKSB as well as find a mentor, because I'd like to have a mentor. Although that's something I'll touch on later on, because I found out something interesting on Syllab's apparent take on mentorship now. So in a way of keeping myself up to date with what is expected with Chartership, last week I did a getting started with professional registration, which was hosted by the Yorkshire and Humberside division. It was led by two professional registration support officers, as well as one professional registration assessor, which I thought, considering the fact that it had been a while since I had last done registration, as well as them bringing out the new format a couple of years ago, I thought I'd at least watch it to see if there's anything that I could learn. The session has been recorded, so if you're doing Chartership, you should be able to see it at some point soon. I would expect it to be hosted on the Yorkshire and Humberside pages, as opposed to within the Chartership section, where the criteria 2 and 3 videos are. I'd also recommend watching those. Really interesting. The video was originally intended as introduction to Syllab, introduction to Chartership, and a breakdown of what is expected for what we are supposed to do in relation to the criteria, which I have to admit, some of it I found interesting, some of it I thought they could have paid less attention to, because it seemed more like they were repeating themselves. The part that stood out for me, and it's almost been a week and I'm still thinking about what the implications are from what they've said in the webinar to what's happening in practice. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but when they were talking about mentors, they basically went and said that mentors should now only be used for someone to talk to in relation to developing your career. Outside of Chartership, mentors have always been seen as the people that kind of like you model yourself in their career, or you go to them for advice in relation to what you should or shouldn't do in certain circumstances where you don't necessarily have the experience. Until recently, the take for Syllab was the mentor was the person that you discussed your development while you're doing Chartership, and also after you've done your PKSB, was someone you could sit down with and work your way through to identify what goals you were going to cover in relation to self-development. And then at the end of the process, after you had put everything together, I think the idea was that they would advise you on what changes needed to be made. But now, the takeaway that I had from the session was anything related to professional development goes through your mentor, i.e. they function as a traditional mentor. However, if you're wanting a take in relation to the chartership process, that you need to go to the PRSO, which I thought defeats the purpose of having a mentor in the chartership process, as the idea being that they've been through this before and they are giving their advice in helping you figure out the best way forward. Now they're basically saying anything you want to do, you need to do through Syllab. Any decisions that you want to make, you have to go through Syllab. At least that's how it felt. I could be wrong, I could be misinterpreting it, The argument that they gave for this was the fact that mentors might not necessarily be trained in the new process and might not be up to date in relation to what is and isn't acceptable for the chartership process. The way I see that then is you can turn around and say that anybody who hasn't had mentorship training in the last 3 years when the new process was brought in shouldn't be eligible to be mentors because their training isn't up to date. I'd love to know people's thoughts on that. The other part that I thought was really interesting was the section by the professional registration assessor. I thought that was really interesting, having someone tell us what they look for in relation to chartership, and he made it very clear that they're not there to not give chartership to people. I just don't want to repeat everything he said because that's not what I'm here for. So the PRA section, really interesting. I suspect if and when I go back and watch the video, I'll most probably watch the PRSO section at 2x speed, just to see if there's anything that I might have missed, or to see if there's any takeaways that I can use when I start working through criteria 2 and 3. Beyond that, I'll definitely rewatch the PRA section just so that I know what to keep an eye out for. For example, I don't need to send in 15 pieces of evidence for each thing, which apparently has been done in the past, and most of the time it appears that the assessors still read through everything, they just resent it. I don't want to put someone in a bad mood while they're doing some work for me. That's pretty much it over the last, that I've been involved in the last month. The registration, so now I'm doing chartership officially, and the getting started with professional registration video, which I thought was really interesting. I have also hit the criteria 2 and criteria 3 videos. I definitely recommend you guys watch that. I would also recommend you guys joining the Facebook group if you haven't done so already. There is a Chartership Facebook group. The one thing that's pretty handy about the group now is once a month we get together online and we spend an hour talking about Chartership and how it impacts our work or what issues we might be having, and it's really interesting. And sometimes at the end of the session, some of us will have some kind of takeaways as a homework to do. I think the first session I did, I said I'd see about finding a mentor. Haven't done that, but that's one of my next steps. So that's not to say I'm not going to do it, just taking my time doing it. I've rambled on enough. I'm pretty sure most of you would have stopped 10 seconds in. It's fine. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll be covering the PKSB process. Who knows, I might even stream that so that people can see me doing it. The only problem I've got with the PKSB is that sometimes I don't necessarily feel that I will grade it honestly. I'm more than likely going to underscore myself. I'm going to try and figure out a way of making sure that that isn't the case. I don't know if any of you have the same problem. I suppose it'll be something to discuss when I start using the PKSB. That's it. I'm going to wrap up now. If you want to find out when I'm going to be doing the PKSB video, click the subscribe link. It'll let you know when the next video is coming out. Anyway, that's it. Thanks, folks. Bye.